Hey booktube, how you doing? Yeah. Okay. Um, what was I gonna say? Oh yeah, we're doing a video. Yellotober. Mm. I wanted to talk about in the Court of the Dragon from The King in Yellow, from Robert W. Chambers, from 1895. Now this story is really cool for a couple different reasons, but like I really like it for certain reasons. One, this is the only story out of the four main King in Yellow stories that doesn't have like a romantic element to it. And I think that works really, really well in here because when we get to next week and we do the yellow sign for me is a story that is almost hampered by the really, for me, for a short story, kind of a drawn out love story thing. Like next week, the yellow sign, it's like in 3 chapters, and the second chapter is all like romantic subtext kind of shit, and it's fine, and I like the story, but I feel like if this story was written like 30 years later, it wouldn't have had that. Well, it obviously wouldn't have, but you just like if you think like if Lovecraft or Robert E. Howard or Clark Ashton Smith, if they had written that story, it would have popped. And this one does pop. So let's focus on this instead of talking about shit that isn't important at the moment. Okay, so I'm also, by the way, going to be doing the Pulp Fiction Literary Podcast today. So as soon as I finish this video, I'll probably start recording that. So that'll be up hopefully by the end of the day. So the thing about In the Court of the Dragon that I absolutely love is that this guy isn't really a churchgoer, okay? But he's at church listening to a sermon that he's like kind of annoyed by because he read The King in Yellow. And he's like kind of terrified. And he wants to find some like sort of solace in the fact that he read that knowing he shouldn't have, and needs like anything that would make him feel better for it. And the thing that happens like pretty early on is so funny because it's something that I've said to myself back in the day when I used to go to church. I know my mom has said it numerous times about different churches that she goes to, but in a different sense. So basically, he's sitting there listening to the music and people singing or whatever, and this organist is like going crazy, just like doing all sorts of shit. And he's like, who the fuck does this guy think he is? And he's like ready to like lose his shit, but he's looking around and no one else seems bothered by it. Oh damn, does that hit home? Like man, when I was like in high school and we would like go to like youth groups or church services, you know, just to do something. And you would see like the people in like the church band and they're like rocking out and stuff, and you're like, calm the fuck down and have some respect. And it's so funny because like I'm like the last person who should say those things, yet I have been totally annoyed by people like just like showboating and all that other stuff. So if any of you go to church, you might be able to relate with me on that. But my mom absolutely fucking hates it. Like if she sees a drum set, she's like gonna turn around and leave. Like she doesn't fuck around. Anyway, so he's like totally annoyed, and after the service or whatever, the organist walks by and has the same look almost as many other characters in this book do. So, like, he's not exactly like the man in the churchyard in the yellow sign, which we'll find out about next week. But he does remind me of, was his name Boris in The Mask from last week? When he, like, towards the end, when he's, like, looking out the window, and they're like, that's him, but it's not. It doesn't look like him, kind of thing. It, like, leaves me with that same feeling. And he's looking at our main character with, like, hate and contempt. And he's like, for fuck's sake, man. Like, sorry. Like, fucking relax. So he goes through, he leaves, and he knows this dude's following him. And he lives at this place called the Court of the Dragon, but in French or whatever, so it sounds kind of cool. Yellotober, or something like that. And it's like this kind of like gated area, but you can only get to it by foot. Like you can't drive up to it or anything like that. Which technically wouldn't matter in 1895 anyway. But the gate should be open until like 10 o'clock at night. And he gets there and runs down this hallway and the gate's shut. And then the dude comes around the corner and starts coming closer to him. And he knows he's fucked. And he's just like terrified. And then all of a sudden, boom! He wakes up and he's at church. And he fell asleep during the sermon. Okay? And he sees the dude, and the guy's not really giving him a look or anything like that. And so everything seems cool. And you go, oh, so this was just like a fucked up dream he had, you know, because he's so terrified and all this other shit. And then, like, the fucking floor gets pulled out from under you, and you don't know what the fuck is going on. So next thing you know, he's like in Carcosa, looking at the dripping moon and the black stars in the sky, and the king in yellow comes to him and says, what does he say? The people faded away, the arches, the vaulted roof vanished. I raised my eyes to the fathomless glare, and I saw the black stars hanging in the heavens, and the wet winds from the lake of holly chilled my face. And now, far away, over leagues of tossing cloud waves, I saw the moon dripping with spray, and beyond, the towers of Carcosa rose behind the moon. Death and the awful abode of lost souls, whither my weakness long ago had sent him, had changed him for every other eye but mine. And now I heard his voice raising, swelling, thundering through the flaring light as I fell. The radiance, increasing, poured over me in waves of flame. Then I sank into the depths, and I heard the King of Yellow whisper to my soul, "It's a fearful thing to fall in the hands of the living God." Oh my gosh. Whew. So yeah. So, I don't know. It's completely bonkers. Next week we're going to do the yellow sign, and then the week after that we're going to do some kind of analysis. And I had a couple people actually bring up True Detective Season 1, and I'm going to be watching it over the next 2 weeks, but I've seen it before, and I remember doing a little bit of looking into it at the time, and there really, at least right now, there isn't really a whole lot that you could really grasp onto, except for the like pessimistic view of I'm gonna say this wrong, cosmicism or whatever Lovecraft used to push, and just the whole idea that human life is so nothing in the grand scheme of the universe. Like, we are so fucking insignificant. But True Detective does go into Carcosa. They do go into the Yellow King. They do talk about the mask. So there will be some things to talk about there. Also, just a reminder, BookTube Live is coming back this weekend. So if you haven't subscribed to the BookTube Live channel, do that so you could be updated when we go live, and you could join the conversation. And I just want to say, like, I am really behind on watching BookTube videos. I've been really busy doing a lot of stuff and making my own videos that I haven't really been watching a whole lot. And I somehow missed Steve's Sherlocktober videos, which fucking pisses me off like nobody's business. So he already did some stories from the Adventures of Sherlock Holmes and from oh my god, the Memoirs of Sherlock Holmes. Jesus Christ, that was awful. And this week, they're reading Hound of the Baskervilles, and I just read that a few months ago, so I'm not going to jump back into it. But I am reading The Return of Sherlock Holmes right now, and I'm guessing that's going to be the next one they do, which is cool, because then, like, I'm ahead of the curve right there. But if you're not participating in Sherlocktober, it's good fun. I can't remember the name. The Empty Old House, is that what it's called? Or The Empty House? The first story in Return of Sherlock Holmes. It's so fucking good. But anyhow, so that's that. And I miss, like, the restricted section name change. There's all sorts of fun little tidbit things that I've missed. So I gotta get on the ball and get caught up with everything and everybody. So hopefully I could do that. Yeah. So anyway, I'm gonna go record the podcast now. So until next time, everybody, have a happy Yellotober and read the yellow sign. That's next.